Johannes, that's a tough afternoon all round. Just give us your thoughts on the actual game.
I don't think tough is the word. I think it was a good game for us to have now in this part of the season where we get to see how big the difference is between the Premier League and us, and also how much we have developed and how much we can actually do with the way that we want to do the game and the way that we want to play the game against a much better side than what we normally play against. So I think there were some good moments out there, especially the first half an hour of the game where we were dangerous. We created some good opportunities. With a little bit of luck, we could probably have scored a goal. But then we also got to see where the difference is between the Premier League side and us at the moment, which is probably not that bad from a learning perspective. So result-wise, I would have hoped for, probably a little bit more towards the end where we could have we could chase a goal or see if we could get a result. But the game was not that for us. We made a couple of too many mistakes in some moments and areas of the game where we have to avoid it. But that's probably also just a consequence of being a little bit more under stress than what we normally are as a team.
So when you talk about that gap that clearly is there with a team like Brighton, I mean, what is it? Is it just the physicality, the way they do everything, just that fraction quicker maybe than the Championship, the speed?
Yeah, I think the speed of the game, I think you could see that they probably only need a touch to be able to make a pass. Sometimes we have to use a touch and then to make a pass, and that's just the difference. It's the small details. It's the preparation before receiving a pass. It's the scanning before receiving a pass. It's the way to defend space. It's the way to constantly be on the move defensively as well. So I think it's good for our still young group of players to get out there and see what the next level is for us as a team, but still try to do it our way. I know some will probably hope for a more defensive approach where we sit back and waste a little bit of time and see if we can just survive and then get a result at the end. But that was not the approach for us today. We wanted to get out there and see how good we are as a team and what we can expect to do against the Premier League side. And I think we saw some positives, but we also saw where it is we have to improve, which I think is probably a realistic outcome of a game like this.
And the fact that your team selection, you kept 6 of the starters from last weekend, did that underline that you really wanted to go up against this team and see what your squad are made of, your team?
I think both yes and no, because of course you can see that 6 of them were also in the lineup last week, 5 of them were not. So it's half of the team that we changed and also did some changes in halftime where we want to see some of the players that have probably not played so many minutes for us so far this season. So with all due respect for a fantastic tournament, the FA Cup, a fantastic competition, but I also find it hard to believe that we can go and win it. So I think it was more important for us to see where we are as a group, where we are as a team, where the individual players are, what we can expect from them the rest of the season. And I think we got some answers today, which is probably the best we can expect.
So just to clarify, I mean, Forson and Dahl came off there at half-time, but there was nothing injury-related,
yeah,
obviously.
Forson had a knock to his knee. I think it was actually in the beginning of the game, and he tried to play, but it was too much in half-time, so no risk with him. We have, of course, obviously to assess him tomorrow and see how it is. Callum Doyle was a little bit of the same. He also had a knock in first half, but what could have played if we decided to do that, but we went with low risk. What was more... Marcelino, of course, that was a little bit more unfortunate because it looked like something in the other hamstring this time, the other leg this time, so that's something we need to take a closer look at tomorrow.
Yeah, so obviously, that was my next question. That's where we're at then. It's just not the same hamstring he's had those other issues with, but clearly that's the initial diagnosis maybe. Yeah,
it is unfortunately. Of course, we have to wait and see. We need to assess him and we need to have a close look and what it is, but that's probably the worst story about this game.
I mean, again, is it just too early to get any initial sense of what that could mean, or do you just have to wait for the scans?
Yeah, because we have to wait for the scan to see. Sometimes it can be minor injuries, sometimes it can be a little bit bigger, sometimes in between, but we need to have a perfect look on what exactly it is.
I know it's very, very premature, obviously, given that he's only just done the injury and you need to scan it. You've got Slimani out for a period of weeks. If he was out for any length of time, would you have to look at that in terms of your strategy the rest of the window?
Yeah, it is. It's a difficult question. I think I need to have the overview of players ready. I think we are, of course, a little bit low on numbers, especially on midfield with not only Anis and now Marcelino probably out, but also Lungi Sørensen, Gabriel Forsyth, Liam Gibson, and some of those players. So it's not on that part of the pitch we have too many players available. So potentially something we have to look at, but of course we also have to be realistic where we are as a club, and we don't have unlimited funds just to go out and buy players. So we have to come up with ideas and solutions, and hopefully some of the others will take a step in a good direction.
And talking of taking steps, obviously maybe he had a little bit of an issue there with his knee, but how did you think Forson went with his first start today for a while? I
think it was all right. I think we could actually see that it hurt him, the knock he had to the knee, and he was struggling a little bit just to keep on moving, and probably too much for him at the end of first half. So I think it's a little bit difficult to say too much. We know he's a threat offensively and he can create moments. He was close to scoring from distance again today, and that would probably have changed the game picture completely. So I think it was okay for him.
You went with Lewis Dobbin first start today there, obviously first game without Borja. How did you think he did?
I think he did very good for us. I think we can see what he will give us as a team, because he's a threat running in behind. He has a very good timing on his movements. He's a quick player, changes of direction so quick, and he can run in behind and very few steps, and then out of a sudden he's in. So he will give us something that we haven't had too much of in the first part of the season here. So I'm optimistic and pleased with his performance today, because I think it builds well into the future and the upcoming period for us.
I guess you probably have to reiterate with him, although he had that half season at West Brom, he wasn't playing a lot of starts, so maybe he just needs a little bit of time to build into it.
Yeah, and it was probably also a little bit too much for him to play 90 minutes today, but he felt okay out there, and some of the other injuries we were a little bit restricted in the options from outside. So he felt okay when we spoke to him, and he actually said to me after the game that it was nice for him to have 90 minutes again. So it probably end up being a good decision for us that he played the 90 minutes and now is back in the game again. And I think he had a good start for us against Coventry the other week, and today was another positive performance from him, and I think it's fair that we can expect something from him for us this season.
And obviously the real positive, you said you try and get him 15 minutes or so, but to get Sargent back on the pitch, just build him up now.
Yeah, and of course a little bit strange for him to come on. Game is killed, and I know really, not really realistic to get back into that game again. But I think it was just positive to see him out there. I think his presence was enough. I think he was full of energy. He was full of positivity. He just wanted to get out there and play. And he's had such a good training week with us, where he's been looking sharp, and he's in a physical great place. So now it's just the football minutes, which is always different compared to what you can do in rehab. So positive for us to get him out there, and it builds well into the next week and builds well into the game we play in Sheffield.
And with that, I mean, obviously you've got another week to build him in training-wise, but would it be still a little bit too early to maybe think about him as a start for those two games, Sheffield and Leeds?
Yeah, it's probably too much for both of them. Of course, we need to sit down and make sure that we follow that plan that we have made for him, and make sure we don't do anything that is not according to that plan. But I think it's realistic that he can be a starter in one of them. I think the two of them is not realistic because there's so few days in between them. But I think just looking at his minutes today, looking at his training week, if he can have another good week, I think it's realistic for us to expect that he can be a starter on one of them.
Just to finish, I'll ask you a couple away from the game. Archie Mayer, that confirmed just before the game, the loan to Motherwell. I mean, you mapped out, you felt you needed to go and get some minutes, so that you're hoping now he'll go and maybe a bit like Manny, good level there, go and get a lot of minutes. Yeah,
good for him and good for us, and I think good for more or less everyone. And that was the reason also why we called Vinny back, because now we thought, and also with the thoughts from Tony, our goalkeeper coach, what he thought would be the best for the goalkeeping group, and that would be best for Archie to get out there and have some playing time and some game minutes on a consistent level, and then to get Vinny back in the group, so we always have three goalkeepers available for training sessions. So probably a good scenario for us.
And obviously I've got to ask you about, Eurosec. There was a report last night that maybe yourselves and Slavia are working on an agreement. Is there anything you can tell us on that?
No, not for now. I know we're looking, as I've been saying a couple of times, to strengthen the squad in areas like that. But it's an ongoing process, and you know, agents, clubs, players, it takes a lot to agree, and we've been there, and also just the summer window where we thought, okay, now we're really, really close, and then it ended up being not so close after all. So I will always be a little bit careful to say too much, but I think it's fair to expect that we will try to strengthen the group with a player up front.
Thanks, Paddy. Good for you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.